Tonight on NewsWatch, the fight goes on. The government avoids a shutdown, but the battle over federal spending just beginning.
Plus, under arrest, special forces end a long battle over the presidency in Ivory Coast.
And ending a cover-up. France forces Muslim women to show their faces. All this and more tonight on NewsWatch. The president of the Ivory Coast has surrendered after weeks of fighting between his troops and rebel forces. I'm Lee Webb.
And I'm Wendy Griffith. Laurent Gbagbo is now in custody after rebel soldiers stormed his compound. The UN, France, and the U.S. led the effort to oust him.
But as John Waggy explains tonight, it may not be the end of hard times in that West African nation.
With the help of rocket attacks by French and UN forces, rebel soldiers surrounded and captured Gbagbo, who is now the deposed former president. Ivory Coast's UN ambassador said he was pleased to make the official announcement.
Laurent Gbagbo has been arrested, is well and alive, and he will be brought to justice.
Hundreds have died in battles between Gbagbo's supporters and the rebels, whose leader is Alassane Ouattara. The UN and most countries recognized Ouattara as the winner of the nation's elections last November, but Gbagbo claimed the elections were rigged and refused to step down. Human rights groups accused Gbagbo's forces of atrocities against civilians. But missions director Ted Jensen told CBN's Gary Lane that missionaries who served in the Ivory Coast have evidence of a massacre in northern cities, likely carried out by the rebels.
From all appearances, it appears to be the rebel troops who are moving through because the Gbagbo's people really have no reason to massacre anybody in that area. These are people who have been faithful supporters of the present regime.
In this Associated Press footage from the weekend, rebel soldiers are patrolling an area strewn with bodies of men they say were soldiers loyal to Gbagbo. Leaders allied with Ouattara say the national nightmare is now over, but others are concerned that the deep divisions remain, and that could bring more tough times, both for the people of the Ivory Coast and for those who are there to help them.
If it goes the way that most of the countries have in the past, we'll see a general tightening up and restrictions applied to the freedom that we have had in the past with preaching the gospel.
John Waggy, CBN News.
Israel and Hamas have agreed to a temporary truce that comes after a recent barrage of attacks from Palestinian terrorists. Despite the truce, Israel's foreign minister said today Israel should bring down the terrorist group Hamas. Chris Mitchell has that story from Jerusalem.
Hamas and other terrorist groups launched more than 120 rockets and mortars into Israel since last Thursday, before Israel and Hamas agreed to a tentative ceasefire. Israel stepped up airstrikes against terrorist targets in Gaza after an anti-tank missile was fired at an Israeli school bus driving near Gaza last week, critically injuring a teenage boy. According to reports, 19 Hamas and Islamic Jihad terrorists and 2 civilians were killed in Israeli strikes. Hamas apparently agreed to the ceasefire because of Israel's tough response and the success of its Iron Dome anti-rocket system. The Iron Dome's debut on the battlefield was incredibly successful, intercepting 100% of the longer-range Grad rockets launched at larger Israeli cities.
This is a great technological achievement. It's the first time that these types of missiles have been intercepted by Israeli technology.
Prime Minister Netanyahu praised the engineers and soldiers operating the system, but warned it couldn't protect everyone.
We're in the first stage, but we went out in a sprint. We'll still have developments of this system, but we can't cover every house, every citizen, every site in Israel.
Still, many civilians were encouraged by the success.
Before, it was scarier. You heard a siren, you needed to jump into the shelters. Now, you hear it, you stop and look up, it explodes, and that's it.
For now, it's quiet, but both sides, no doubt, are preparing for the next round. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Late Friday night, President Obama and congressional leadership struck a deal on a temporary budget to keep the government from having to shut down. It will now be up to the full Congress to make the deal a reality. CBN News chief political correspondent David Brody has more now from Capitol Hill.
There's been a lot of talk, of course, of this budget deal here on Capitol Hill, but let's remember this budget deal was struck by the president, Harry Reid, and John Boehner. The rank and file, both Republicans and Democrats, have not officially weighed in. The devil is in the details, and those details come Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, when eventually this vote is supposed to happen here in the House. And so we're going to have to wait and see whether or not some of these cuts are actually permanent, how many are just one-time cuts. Many Republicans and Democrats might simply not vote for this actual budget deal, so we'll wait and see. Now, as for the future, you've got the debt ceiling vote coming up probably in early July. That's going to be a big-time Armageddon issue, at least politically up here. And then, of course, the 2012 budget by the president. Paul Ryan and the Republicans want to cut $6 trillion in spending. The president says, you've got to be kidding, we're not going to do that. And so that is a huge fight. It makes the 2011 budget fight seem like just peanuts, chump change, really. David Brody, CBN News on Capitol Hill.
Thanks, David. As David said, the next major fight we're going to see in Washington is over raising the debt limit. Republicans are dead set against it, and even President Obama was when he was a senator. Senator Obama voted against raising the debt back in 2006. Now he's changed his mind. The White House says Obama believes his vote was a mistake. Republicans say they will not vote to raise the debt ceiling unless the White House agrees to spending cuts.
Chinese authorities are holding 169 churchgoers in what appears to be the largest crackdown on Christians in years. This is undercover footage taken Sunday. It shows hundreds of members of Shuang Church attempting to hold a service on public property. As you can see, police were out in full force surrounding the venue. The church was evicted last week from their usual meeting place. Leaders of the church insist no laws were broken, and they say they're ready to face any consequences. George Thomas is with us now. He's recently traveled to China and covered this church. And George, this is not the first time this church has been evicted?
No, November 1st, 2009, similar incident happened. In essence, the place that they were meeting, the landlords basically said, you know, you're causing too much of a controversy, you're a political hot potato, you need to leave. And so on November 1st, 2009, in the middle of what was a blizzard, they came and they gathered in Beijing, and a similar action took place. But eventually, good thing is that the government itself stepped in and provided them with a place to worship. This is the place that they are now being evicted out from.
George, are the Chinese authorities afraid of the gospel, or are they afraid of anti-political comments that may come from church leaders?
I mean, I think both. Today, you have to realize Christianity in China is only about 50+ years old, and the Chinese government, an atheistic nation, is trying to grapple with what it means to believe not in the Communist Party, but to believe in this deity, in this man called Jesus, a heavenly being. And so there is this enormous flocking to Christian churches, and that makes the government rather uncomfortable. And so this is all taking place in the midst of a big crackdown against human rights activists, political activists, artists. A big actor, a well-known artist, was recently arrested on his way to Hong Kong. But I don't think we're seeing a trend here against the church, because at the end of the day, the government realizes that Christians are good for China. They're good Chinese citizens, and in the end, that I think all these folks will be released.
That's encouraging.
Yes,
Thanks, George, for that report.
You're welcome.
France's new law against the Islamic veil went into effect today. It was immediately met with protests, arrests, and claims of Islamophobia. Dale Hurd has that story.
It was a media circus at Paris's Notre Dame Cathedral, where several women protested the new law by wearing their veils.
This is an attack on my freedom of conscience, my freedom of religion, my freedom simply of being a woman.
God willing, I am going to continue to wear this. We are free to practice our religion because it is our democratic right.
Until recently, the French left-wing establishment and media have generally viewed restrictions on Muslims as racist and Islamophobic.
I am completely against this law because everyone is free to do what they want. We are in France, and we are in a democratic country where everyone has the right to do what they want.
It's not racist at all. It's just... You need to understand the history of France to to accept this kind of law.
France is finally being forced to deal with an issue that's been swept under the carpet for decades: the failure of Muslim integration and growing Islamic separatism and radicalism.
But the elites are in denial over it. It's politically incorrect to discuss, and if you oppose Muslim immigration, you're likely to be called a racist.
But that all began to change when an influential poll showed the leader of the right-wing National Front, Marine Le Pen, would defeat Nicolas Sarkozy in the next presidential election. Le Pen has made it clear that she intends to crack down on Muslim immigration and religious displays like worshippers who block the streets during Friday prayers. That's forced Sarkozy to look tougher on the Muslim issue. Sarkozy's former advisor on integration, who was fired by the president, has called on French Muslims to wear a green star in protest, similar to the yellow star that Jews were forced to wear under Nazi occupation. The veil ban has set the stage for a showdown between the government, police, and Muslims, like this woman, who says she will never stop wearing the veil. The fine for wearing a veil outside of a home or a car is about $200. Police have been instructed not to use force to remove veils. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Coming up, a national chain's restaurant accidentally serves a toddler alcohol. It's not the first time it's happened.
If you're an individual group or business needing a dental plan, Avia Dental offers group plans for as little as $5 per month. Now members of your group can save up to 50% or more off a high-quality dental care. Everyone qualifies, and there's no waiting or limits on visits to the dentist. Visit aviadental.com or call 1-888-431-CARE. Avia Dental since 1994. Smile, you're with people who care.
Attention investors, now is the time to protect your retirement accounts and investments. Excessive government spending is devaluing the U.S. dollar, and high rates of inflation are coming. Gold has tripled since 2001, and some experts predict the prices will climb another 100%. Buy gold now, direct and wholesale with United Gold Group. The demand for gold around the world is higher than ever. Foreign countries like China and India are buying up gold at record rates. Why? What do they know that you don't?
Call now and get your Gold Investors Kit absolutely free. Call in the next 5 minutes and receive The Secret to Owning Gold in Your Retirement Account, also absolutely free. Just call 1-800-758-5070. That's 1-800-758-5070.
This could be the most important call you make this year. United Gold Group, investing in America's future.
If you're an individual group or business needing a dental plan, Avia Dental offers group plans for as little as $5 per month. Now members of your group can save up to 50% or more off a high-quality dental care. Everyone qualifies, and there's no waiting or limits on visits to the dentist. Visit aviadental.com or call 1-888-431-CARE. Avia Dental since 1994. Smile, you're with people who care.
7 people are dead and at least 35 others wounded after an explosion in Belarus. It happened in a crowded subway tunnel in the capital city of Minsk. Several witnesses say passengers were just stepping off a train when the blast happened. There is no immediate word, though, if it was a terrorist attack.
Parts of the Midwest are cleaning up after being hammered by tornadoes and powerful storms. There were 600 reports of severe weather nationwide this weekend, including 38 twisters. Tornadoes damaged 60% of a small town in Iowa. One man found himself trapped inside the strong winds.
I was at this window and it slung me from right here through there. And I ended up right here.
It's all gone. I've never seen anything like this. This is just something else. I don't want to go through it again.
I think that we should have had fatalities and didn't. So I guess I believe in the good Lord and He saved this town.
Amen. Well, nearly half of Mapleton, Iowa's 1,200 residents have been displaced. God bless them. Well, the popular Applebee's restaurant chain is under investigation.
One of its restaurants, believe it or not, accidentally served alcohol to a baby. This isn't the first time it's happened, and many are wondering why it keeps happening. Ephraim Graham has the story.
15-month-old DJ and his family were eating at this Applebee's outside Detroit. Near the end of the meal, something odd began to happen.
He was a little out there.
DJ's mother noticed him starting to act strange.
He was saying hi and bye to the walls, and he eventually laid his head down on the table, and we thought maybe he was just sleepy.
Yes, DJ was sleepy, but not because of a long day on the playground. He was drunk. Somehow, he was served apple juice mixed with alcohol. Police are calling it an accident and blame a mislabeled bottle behind the bar. But this is not a new situation for Applebee's. In fact, it's happened twice before over the last few years. In 2006, a New York Applebee's mistakenly served a Long Island iced tea to a 5-year-old. He had ordered apple juice.
His eyes were glazed. It was very clear to me that he was under the influence of alcohol.
In 2007, an Applebee's in California poured a margarita into a toddler's plastic sippy cup. Again, the order was supposed to be apple juice. 15-month-old DJ was taken to the hospital. He had a blood alcohol level well above the legal limit for an adult to drive. Applebee's says it is looking into the issue. Quote, obviously, any situation like this is unacceptable. We are working with local authorities and conducting our own investigation to assess exactly what happened. DJ is fine now, but his mom still can't wrap her head around how something like this could happen in the first place.
Nobody at the table ordered alcoholic drinks. We can't. So he definitely shouldn't have received one.
Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
Up next, what makes America great? It's a debate that could be at the heart of the 2012 election.
Finding video on CBN.com just got easier. We've taken all our video, the 700 Club, news, testimonies, teachings, plus our 24/7 channels, and put them in one convenient location, CBN TV. Watch what you want, when you want. It's all simple to find, and now easier than ever to email a story to a friend. CBN TV on CBN.com.
The doctor said to me, Peggy, you don't understand. Pancreatic cancer is inoperable and incurable. And he says, well, Peggy, you've got 2 months to live. It was like he was telling me, go to the store. There was no compassion. Yeah, it was heartbreaking. My life was an hourglass. I was home, laying on the couch, just dying. My sister Pam called the Cancer Treatment Centers of America. When I got there, I knew that I was going to be cared for. I met with the doctor after the tests were done and said, how long do I have? And he looked at me and he said, Peggy, we did a lot of tests on you, and I never saw one thing stamped on the bottom of your foot that said you were going to die in 2 months. You have no expiration date. And I thought, wow.
Cancer Treatment Centers of America is unlike any other cancer hospital, full of hope, committed to your fight. We use every weapon: surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, nutrition, spiritual support, and mind-body medicine. We surround you with a real team, working together, all under one roof.
Each time I went back to the Cancer Treatment Centers of America, I responded better. My tumors were shrinking. Came back in September again, and they still couldn't see anything. I said, you're kidding me. We'll see how it goes. We'll keep testing, but we can't see the tumors anymore.
Please call the number on your screen to speak with an oncology information specialist and receive a life-changing information kit and DVD packed with valuable information. Call now and learn about treatment options you may not even know exist.
It's really unbelievable how one doctor can tell me I have 2 months to live. And then I go to the Cancer Treatment Centers of America and they saved my life. Hope is a mainstay. Hope is everything.
Don't give up. Your fight is our fight. Call Cancer Treatment Centers of America today.
Well, late today, former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney announced he is running for president. Romney says he wants to restore America's greatness. Some call that American exceptionalism, and that could become one of the most important phrases in next year's presidential election.
Yeah, but not everyone is sure exactly what it means or why it's important. Heather Sells has that story in our Focus Report.
If politics is like sports, then American exceptionalism is like a football right now, with Republicans on the offensive.
The President of the United States, let's just be very clear, he doesn't believe America is exceptional.
The United States of America is simply the single greatest nation in all of human history.
This belief in American exceptionalism is something that every new generation has got to make its own.
The concept of American exceptionalism is as old as the founding of our country. But in the last couple of years, it's become a hot topic of debate across the country, including here at Regent University's Ronald Reagan Symposium.
I think this is an issue that goes to the very core of who we are as a people, who we are as a nation, our identity as a nation, and the role that we play in the world.
I think American exceptionalism is not boastful. It should not be boastful. It doesn't say we're better than other people. It says we have set ourselves a standard to which we have to aspire, and which, if we succeed, can help others also achieve liberty and justice and self-government.
Ronald Reagan is credited by most with reviving the belief in greatness. He masterfully communicated it with catchphrases like "City on a Hill," although he didn't use the actual words.
So far as I know, he never used the precise term American exceptionalism.
Today, the concept generally refers to the notion that we're a special country because of our unique beliefs in liberty, individualism, equal rights, and a free marketplace. And it became a potent political weapon thanks in part to the president, who said this on his first trip overseas.
I believe in American exceptionalism, just as I suspect that the Brits believe in British exceptionalism and the Greeks believe in Greek exceptionalism.
Conservatives wasted no time in using that comment as a battering ram. But political analysts note the issue works for liberals as well.
It can be used to say, oh, so you just think America's like any other country? Well, that's kind of un-American to think that. And then the other side can say, oh, you think America should throw its weight around in the world and unilaterally go around invading countries?
Sarah Palin devoted an entire chapter in her latest book to the topic. It's a go-to subject for many wannabe GOP presidential candidates, and it's also bubbling up at the grassroots level. During last year's textbook wars, the chairwoman of the Texas Board of Education told CBN it's a top priority.
I want students to understand the very basic foundational principles that have made America great, the concept of American exceptionalism.
And she's not alone. A recent Gallup poll shows 80% of Americans say yes. The U.S. has a unique character that makes it the greatest country in the world. But only 58% believe Barack Obama believes that. And 3/4 of those who think we're exceptional also believe we risk losing it.
Well, I think a lot of citizens worry that America isn't living up to our principles, that President Obama, he said this, thinks, well, we can move in the direction of Europe.
Crystal and other observers say exceptionalism will be a big issue in 2012. And just how much Americans buy into that idea stands to affect not only our national identity, but our foreign policy.
The question is, how alive are these ideas in America and in the world today? Are these ideas that America rightly should export or try to export to the world?
And what about the faith community? Many evangelicals embrace the belief that we have a divine destiny as a nation, but not everyone.
It can become a kind of idolatry, raising up the nation to be sort of the redeemer, the last best hope of mankind. Well, there are many faith voters who say, no, there's another best hope of mankind, and it's not a given nation.
Today, Michael Reagan is continuing in his father's footsteps, calling for America to promote its unique brand of government to the world.
As I travel around the globe myself, people come up to me all the time and say, America can't fail. The world cannot afford America to fail. We are an exceptional country, and we have to sell that.
As the country tries to understand itself and its role in the world today, this powerful ideal will no doubt shape our debate whether or not we actually use the word exceptionalism. Heather Sell, CBN News.
Well, it's certainly a fascinating topic, and Heather did such a great job of bringing up this debate. But you don't want a president who's going to lower the bar. I mean, you want someone that's going to make you reach.
Well, I do think we need to exhibit a great deal of humility because we, especially as Christians, believe that there is only one kingdom, and that is the kingdom of God. We are to be loyal to Him above all else.
And He calls us to be excellent and exceptional. Right. We'll be right back.
The doctor said to me, Peggy, you don't understand. Pancreatic cancer is inoperable and incurable. And he says, well, Peggy, you've got 2 months to live. It was like he was telling me, go to the store. There was no compassion. Yeah, it was heartbreaking. My life was an hourglass. I was home, laying on the couch, just dying. My sister Pam called the Cancer Treatment Centers of America. When I got there, I knew that I was going to be cared for. I met with the doctor after the tests were done and said, how long do I have? And he looked at me and he said, Peggy, we did a lot of tests on you, and I never saw one thing stamped on the bottom of your foot that said you were going to die in 2 months. You have no expiration date. I thought, wow.
Cancer Treatment Centers of America is unlike any other cancer hospital, full of hope, committed to your fight. We use every weapon: surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, nutrition, spiritual support, and mind-body medicine. We surround you with a real team, working together, all under one roof.
Each time I went back to the Cancer Treatment Centers of America, I responded better. My tumors were shrinking. Came back in September again, and they still couldn't see anything. I said, you're kidding me. We'll see how it goes. We'll keep testing, but we can't see the tumors anymore.
Please call the number on your screen to speak with an oncology information specialist and receive a life-changing information kit and DVD packed with valuable information. Call now and learn about treatment options you may not even know exist.
It's really unbelievable how one doctor can tell me I have 2 months to live. And then I go to the Cancer Treatment Centers of America and they saved my life. Hope is a mainstay. Hope is everything.
Don't give up. Your fight is our fight. Call Cancer Treatment Centers of America today.
This weekend wrapped up the final official days of the Cherry Blossom Festival in our nation's capital.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was still going on. From food to fashion and, of course, plenty of blossoms. The only thing missing was the wind.
It's not going to go. It's not going to launch.
I need help putting that kite in the sky.
Very worried, because this is something that we like to do every year.
Yesterday, avid kite flyers braved the cold weather for the grand finale of the Cherry Blossom Festival, the Kite Festival. Hundreds of brightly covered kites were on hand, including American flag kites and a kite that featured the mascots from the 2008 Beijing Olympic Games. Visitors crowded the mall near the Washington Monument to watch the expert flyers.
We're going to have a kite battle on the field later, and I think that if we could get all the members of Congress on both sides of the aisle out here to take out their differences in the sky with kites, it would be a much better country.
It looks like they had some win there.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, they did have enough, it looks like.
Yeah, and this year the event was sponsored by the famous Cherry Blossom Festival, and the theme was, of course, Blossom inspired.
That's so beautiful up there, isn't it?
Yeah, they didn't have a warm day, but they at least had a fun day and a little bit of wind.
Yeah.
Well, that is going to do it for this edition of NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.